and with FEMA employees. I think it's important for people to find out about that. So we wanted to put that out and share that with the public.
Now, again, when I say every part of this article I've separately confirmed, for years we've talked about how they order county and city officials to send police, firemen, medical workers to these FEMA meetings, that it's unfunded mandate. They order them to go to these classes where they scare the daylights out of them, but then are also very deceptive with them and tell them, oh, this is for earthquakes and hurricanes, and then say, well, it's for terrorism. Then they start demonizing gun owners. They ask, who are the local troublemakers? And then the ears go up on the locals. In fact, I had a fireman shoot video of FEMA in Kansas City saying the founding fathers are bad. You know, we're setting this up for the people's own good. So, I mean, I've got a lot of this stuff. It's really creepy. The problem is I'm tired of these county officials being scared to go public. They need to go public now, like Thomas Sanchez did with me in 1999, the Kingsville emergency manager, when they told him we're getting ready for gun confiscation. That's what these military drills are for.
Well, you know, part of the process is, you know, people are scared. They're intimidated. They're brought into these conference rooms. They're brought into these situations with these federal authorities. And, you know, they're either through oath and sometimes through contract, they are not permitted to discuss certain things. They will actually classify some of these meetings.
Now, yeah, these federalization meetings. Tell folks about this particular clip we're going to play after the break. Now, you've heard the full clip, but this is edited for us.
Yeah, I've heard the unedited clip. This is a municipal official. I've vetted out I'm not on the tape myself. I've vetted out the individual in a northwestern county here in Indiana, not too far from Chicago. And they were required by law to have 6. They actually had more conversations and meetings, but they had to have a minimum of 6 meetings with federal authorities, particularly DHS and FEMA, to basically answer their questions. And at first it was about instituting a hazard mitigation program, and that was explained as something to prepare for tornadoes.
Yeah, they always use something reasonable, like the Army's going to help stop drunks on the streets, and then and take guns. But go ahead.
And that's exactly how they got them involved and got them started in it. And then the questions, either the verbal questions, the written questionnaires, the information they wanted to know about infrastructure, telling them to plan for just unbelievable disaster scenarios that are just unrealistic for the area. You know, it caused concern. You know, what were these meetings really about? Because they didn't actually seem to be about preparing for tornadoes.
And then they said, oh, it's mass graves. Oh, it's martial law. Oh, it's for 400,000 people flooding your county. Oh, you need hardened bunkers. And they said, why? And they said, oh, in case jets fly into them. And they said, no, jets were in the countryside in cornfields. Well, we all know it's really to fight the American people.
Yeah, they had a map, and they had it out on the table in one of the conferences, and asked the people there from the county, said, you know, if we need to locate mass graves, point a good area out. Where would we do that? And that was odd enough on its own. And then they asked them, would they accept bodies from other counties?
Well, you know, this is the incredible thing. FEMA, we found the purchase orders where they bought millions in different locations around the country of these plastic coffins for mass death. And then when you try to ask FEMA about it, they deny that they're really coffins, and then we can call the company up that makes them and find the purchase order for them. So they're gearing up for something really big, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to talk about it more and play this clip and break it down and analyze it with a head emergency manager in a major county in Indiana on the border with Illinois and Chicago. It's all coming up after the break. Please stay with us. He's Doug Williams, and he writes for the Daily Newscaster. All right, we're back live. Anything else you want to say before we play this clip and you come back and comment on it? Doug Williams with the Daily Newscaster.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, what was that?
Anything you'd like to say before we play this clip?
You know, it's just people need to realize that these preparations are going on, and when preparations like this happen, they're not for no reason. That needs to be kept in mind. You know, that they're doing this for a reason.
Well, also, if the establishment really wanted to have true emergency preparedness, they would involve the community with the old-fashioned civil defense. But FEMA, and this is on record, we reported this the day it happened during Katrina. It was in local news. No one believed us, but it came out in congressional testimony, and I interviewed the head of the parish that New Orleans, that's the name of the counties there, in the parish, Mr. Richard. On record, the feds jammed the police cell phones and then said, oh, look at how the locals, 80% of the cops just walked off the job. They jammed their cell phones, went in, cut down the police radio lines, and then the police found out 3 days in and had to fix it and guard it, and FEMA showed up with guns in an armed standoff and wanted to cut the lines. And it later came out they wanted to have it be a disaster so they could use it as a, quote, laboratory to test gun confiscation. They then sent in the regular troops. Lair NewsHour admits, and there's YouTube clips of this, that Israeli troops, Israeli contractors were used, Blackwater was used, high and dry, gun confiscation. It was all, my point is, FEMA is completely evil and keeping all of this secret. And under PDD 51, Congress, they say, doesn't have any authority when Congress is co-equal with the president.
The covert nature of all this questioning should really be the red flag. If this were legitimate, it would be public. They would involve the community. It would be out in the daylight.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and play this clip. Here it is.
There's some things going on here in Indiana that I'm sure people are generally unaware of. And I have some contacts, I had made a contact with Superfaith to talk with him a little bit, but I'm not sure what happened. I think he had an ice storm down there, and I don't know if he's out of it for a while or not.
Yeah, he's disappeared. No one knows what. I think he's just focusing on the family right now, but you wrote a lot of things in your email. Why don't you just go through them one at a time and break it down for us? What do you see? What's going on?
About 1.5 to 2 years ago, we started being contacted by FEMA saying, you've got to put some plans together. The first plans had to do with, the reason was avian flu. Now, I don't know. My brother's a doctor, and a couple hundred people around the world have died from bird flu. And not really a serious threat right now, unless they know something that we don't. But the point is, we were to put together a plan to vaccinate every person in the county within 48 hours.
You're kidding me! Wow.
And then that plan has to be practiced 2 or 3 times. I mean, literally, we've gotten every police officer we can, and buses and volunteers, and set it up. And logistically, it's just really not possible to do. I mean, we've run through this thing 100 times and in our heads, and several times dry runs. It's just not logistically possible. But the point is, they want to be able to vaccinate people very fast for some reason. It might be bird flu, but my brother's saying that bird flu really is an event right now, unless they know something we don't know. Then the sheriff's department started getting long questionnaires. I got one myself. I didn't fill it out, and lots of questions of, what kind of resources do we have? What kind of, how many officers? What can we handle? What are you going to do if Chicago has an emergency and you have 400,000 people heading in your county? Where can you put mass graves? We need to know spaces of mass graves. How many can you handle? Can you handle bodies from surrounding counties and those types of things? And we're going, what the heck are you guys talking about? Tell us what's going on. Oh, nothing. Nothing's going on. We're just contingency plans. If something ever happened, we just really need to know how to handle things. And then I was contacted by Homeland Security through what we have to do is have what is called a hazard mitigation plan. All right, well, that sounds good. And what they're saying is FEMA is saying that disasters are costing them too much money. So we've got to have a plan to mitigate the damage from disasters if a disaster ever happens. And I understand you've got New Orleans, you've got fires in California, and you've got tornadoes in Oklahoma, and you have those things going on. But we're looking at them going, look, we're in the middle of a cornfield. What kind of disasters are we talking about? Oh, earthquakes and, fires and flooding and tornadoes, and okay, well, what are the real chances of those things happening to us? Oh, it's very rare, but still, we want to have mitigation plans. What kind of stuff you talk about? I just had my last meeting today with them, in fact, and they're literally telling me that they want to harden our fire stations. All right, well, what do you mean by that? Well, you know how when a 747 hits, here's what he said today, when a 747 hits a nuclear reactor and just slides off of it, that kind of hardening we're talking about.
What the heck? Oh, my God.
Well, first off, for what reason? If a 747 lands in the middle of town, it's not worried about the whole town. Forget the fire department.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's just an example. Well, hardened against water. What do you think's going to happen? Well, we think this may be high wind. Well,